never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world and right on time. Oh, never in my life have I seen the sky light up like this. I'm far away from Earth and I wanna know if you exist. Mission control, do you read me? Send me my coordinates lately. Mission control, am I drifting? Tie me to someone who will love me, yeah. Wait, I think I'll last a bit longer.
Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Happy Friday to everybody out there and to all of you who have next week off, which includes my 3 kids. I hope you enjoy your full week off. Next week it should be a very entertaining and very good 7 days in the world of college football and NFL, because of course we have college football still going on this week that started back on Tuesday night, and of course we'll have some more games tonight and all day tomorrow. And then we have the NFL on Sunday as always and Monday as always. And then of course on Thanksgiving Day we'll have NFL all day long. And then on Friday we'll have college football all day long. Well, let's go ahead and talk about all the televised games in the world of college football tonight and all day long tomorrow. Of course, college football for the week this week started on Tuesday, as it has the last few weeks. We had 3 games on Tuesday, 2 games on Wednesday, and 1 big-time game last night. Now, tonight we have South Florida at UTSA at 9 o'clock on ESPN 2. And then we have Colorado at Washington State on FS1 at 10:30. And then tomorrow, as it is just about every single week with the exception of the couple times a year we have an 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern time zone game. Outside of that, the Saturday games always start at noon. And the noon slate tomorrow looks like this. Fox will have Michigan at Maryland. ABC will have Louisville at Miami. FS1, Rutgers at Penn State. The SEC network will have Louisiana Monroe at Ole Miss. ESPN will have Oklahoma at BYU. The CBS Sports Network, Coastal Carolina at Army. And then, depending on the region you live in, at noon on the Big Ten Network, you either get Michigan State and Indiana or Purdue and Northwestern. And then ESPN News has a game tomorrow at noon, and that is East Carolina at Navy. And this is the first time, and I would say probably 5 or 6 weeks, that when looking at the noon games tomorrow, none of them look appealing. None of them look eye-popping. None of them look like games to where you see it on the schedule and you say, oh yeah, I've got to watch that game. There's a couple of games that should be entertaining and should be good, but If you miss them, it's probably not going to be a big deal. But anytime you look on the schedule and you see a slate of games and you think to yourself, oh, none of those games look appealing, none of those games look like must-watch games, that's when end of the day comes around and you see the scores and you see the scores on the noon game and you think, man, I missed that game. Man, that was a good game. But the Louisville-Miami game should be entertaining only because Miami is 19th in the country in total defense. Of course, nobody talks about that because you used to have idiots that would always say defense wins championships. I think now it's kind of obvious that that's not true anymore. But Miami's 19th in the country in total defense, but nobody talks about it because they're an average football team because their offense just blows chunks. Just like Clemson this year is 6th in America in total defense. Guess what? They're having an average year. You know why? Because defense no longer wins championships. 3 o'clock tomorrow on the CW, we have Duke at Virginia. In the 3:30 slate, looks like this. Of course, there's only one game at 3:30 that you should watch, and you either watch that game or you're wrong. But in case you want to be wrong, here is all the 3:30 games. Tomorrow, Georgia at Tennessee on CBS, and I want that game to be close, but I just don't know how it can be because Tennessee's offense this year is just average, mediocre at best, and that's being kind. They've looked really good against inferior opponents, but when they play teams as good as them, their offense, like last week against Missouri, just looks terrible. I just don't know how they hang with Georgia, but I hope it's a good game. Then we have Illinois at Iowa on FS1. Wake Forest at Notre Dame on NBC. The one game that everybody should watch at 3:30. North Carolina at Clemson on ESPN. The battle of the abbreviation teams. UCLA at USC on ABC. NC State at Virginia Tech on the ACC network. And then we have UNLV at Air Force on the CBS Sports Network. Now, on Monday, there was an article that came out that said UCLA has already made the decision that as soon as their game this Saturday with USC wraps up, they're going to fire Chip Kelly. Now, I do believe that if Chip Kelly does get fired, this will be his last head coaching job at a Power 5 program for a while. Ever since his success at Oregon, the shine on Chip Kelly has just disappeared. But if UCLA has already made the decision that they're going to fire him regardless of the outcome tomorrow, I don't know why you don't go ahead and do it now or wait until after the season. Why do it with 1 week left in the season? I don't get that at all, but we'll find out whether or not any of that is true. 4 o'clock tomorrow, we have Minnesota at Ohio State on the Big Ten Network. Oregon at Arizona State on Fox. Oklahoma State at Houston on ESPN 2. New Mexico State at Auburn on the SEC Network. And then at 5 o'clock on Fox Sports 2, we have Central Florida at Texas Tech. And then at 7 o'clock, we have Kansas State at Kansas on Fox Sports 1. And Boise State at Utah State on the CBS Sports Network. Then at 7:30 tomorrow night, we have Washington at Oregon State on ABC. Florida at Missouri on ESPN. Florida International at Arkansas on ESPN-U. Kentucky at South Carolina on the SEC Network. Nebraska at Wisconsin on NBC. Texas and Iowa State will be 8 o'clock on Fox. Georgia State and LSU, 8 o'clock on ESPN2. And then we have Syracuse and Georgia Tech, 8 o'clock on the ACC Network. And then at 10:30, we have New Mexico at Fresno State on Fox Sports 1, and San Diego State and San Jose State on the CBS Sports Network. And that is a look at all the games that are on national television that are worth mentioning tonight and tomorrow, because a couple games I don't think are worth even bringing up. And then, of course, there's a couple games on the Pac-12 network, but honestly, really, truly, to this day, I still have not met one person that actually has the Pac-12 network. So I'm not going to sit here and ramble off games that come on a channel that, to my knowledge, nobody even has. To my knowledge, there's no proof that the Pac-12 network even exists, because I've talked to people that have Comcast, YouTube TV, DirecTV, Dish Network, their local cable provider, whoever that may be, and I've still never met not one person that has the Pac-12 network. So as far as I'm concerned, it's not even a real channel. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you games that come on a channel that I'm not even sure even exist or not. But it's hard to believe that after all the games tomorrow, which will actually be about 2 o'clock Eastern Time Sunday morning, by the time the 10:30 Eastern Time game ends, that there'll only be 1 week left in the regular season in the world of college football. Seems like we were just talking about the slate of games in week number 1, and now here we are talking about the slate of games in week number 12, which for most teams is the 11th game of the season. Of course, we know that Army and Navy are not quite done yet. They always come back and play each other on a Saturday when there's no other college football game on in the middle of December, so that everybody's attention and focus can be on Army and Navy and what that game means, not just on the football field, but off the football field as well. And I personally miss the blue-gray game. I know there's no danger in it ever coming back, but I miss that game. And if you're too young to know what that is, or if it's been so long you have forgotten what that is, that used to be a college football game that was always played on Christmas Day at noon Eastern Time on ABC, I believe. And it was always seniors that played for a team that was not going to a bowl game. And since you were a senior and your career was over with and your team was not going to a bowl game, they put you in the blue-gray game, and that would be your bowl game, and it would be your send-off to the world of college football. And it was called a blue-gray game, and I believe, if memory serves, all the players in the eastern part of the country were on the gray team, and all the players on the western part of the country were on the blue team. So it's kind of like an east-west game, but they called it blue-gray. So if you were from California, you were on the blue. If you were from Florida, you were on the gray. It might be the other way around. It's been 25 years ago, so I'm just guessing. But back in those days, you only had like 21, 22 bowl games. So it was easy to have enough players that were on teams that were not going to bowl games. Now there's so many bowl games that by the time everybody gets put in a bowl game, there ain't but 20 teams left that don't go to a bowl game. But I missed the blue-gray game, and I believe it ended early 21st century, if I'm not mistaken. If you recall the blue-gray game, please feel free to let me know. Enjoy all the college football tonight and all day tomorrow. And if you're a high school football fan and your team is still in the playoffs in whatever state that might be, please go out tonight and support your local high school team as they battle through the playoffs. I know South Carolina is 1 week deeper and further in the playoffs than the state of Georgia is, and that's because South Carolina starts their season 1 week earlier than the state of Georgia does. Any early thoughts on the games this weekend, please feel free to let me know. Any thoughts on the Texas A&M situation or the Michigan situation, please feel free to let me know. Homes for Our Troops is a publicly funded 501c nonprofit organization that builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans. Since the 2004 inception, nearly 90 cents of every dollar spent has gone directly to our program services for veterans. Visit at hfotusa.org. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. A co-worker named Celsius recently retired at my job, so they hired a guy named Kelvin to replace him. He's the new temp. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.